This is Dr. Paul Cleveland with Boundary Stone, helping you navigate your way through a confusing world. I've been discussing a little bit of the confusion there is over income redistribution and its consequences. Talked about a few. Today I wanted to talk about one last consequence of the forced redistribution of income, and that is it destroys freedom. Well, now, the best illustration of this that I know of was actually a story that was told by a congressman in the 1920s. This congressman, Stephen Pace, is from a rural county and community in Georgia. And so in that era, most of his constituents made their living in agriculture one way or another. And so the occasion of telling the story was a barbecue held on the banks of the Ocmulgee River. And his constituents wanted to know why he was not going to vote for a farm subsidy bill. And so they had a big barbecue, invited him, and so he got up to speak, and he didn't speak directly to the issue. Instead, he told them a story, and so this is the story I'll tell you. He pointed to the river and he says, you know, ladies and gentlemen, just a few miles down this river, there's a bend in the river. And at that bend, there's a thicket. And at one time, there were a pack of wild hogs that used to live out in that thicket. And those hogs lived through every kind of natural disaster you can imagine. They lived through fires, freezes, floods, droughts. You name it, they survived out there. As a matter of fact, they were so wiry that it would make the local news if a hunter was actually able to get off a clean shot and shoot one. Well, one day a man rode into the local town and stopped at the general store, went into the store owner, and he asked for directions to the whereabouts of this thicket and those hogs. Well, the store owner gave the man directions and didn't think too much about it. The man walked slowly out of the store, got back on his wagon, and rode out of town. Well, about 5-6 months later, he came back into the store owner and he said, sir, I was wondering if you'd like to make a little money, and maybe you know some men in town that would like to make a little extra money. I've got these hogs all in a pen out by the river, and I'd like to bring them into market, but I'll need some help. Well, the store owner really couldn't believe it. He said, I can't believe this. And he said, well, you're welcome to come see. So the news spread through the community, and everybody had to go out and see this thing. Well, sure enough, they got out there, and this man had a big pen built, and he had all these hogs in his pen. And the people were amazed. How in the world were you able to capture all these hogs? That's impossible. He said, well, actually, it was pretty easy. First thing I did when I got out here is I threw out a couple of ears of corn. Those hogs wouldn't go near that corn for the first 3 weeks. But finally, a couple of the younger ones beat out of the thicket and grabbed a couple of ears of corn and then beat back off into the brush. And so I just kept putting corn out every day, and pretty soon they were all eating it. And so that's when I started to build a pen. I built it a little higher, a little farther around every day. And then when I noticed they had finally quit foraging for roots and berries and such, I put a trap door on that pen. They could all get into that corn but couldn't get back out. And he said, I could trap any animal on the face of this earth if I would just get him to depend on me for a free handout. Well, you get the point. The congressman was telling his audience that subsidy, that was the cost of that, was their very freedom itself. And so they went home happy that their congressman was going to do the right thing and preserve their freedom and their liberty. When government gives you something, the other side of that coin is always government taking. Government can't give anything to anybody that it first didn't take. And if it took it, how much of that's going to get sucked off in the governmental bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. And the reality is quite a bit of it will be. And so this is not the way to get what you want. Well, Dr. Paul Cleveland with Boundary Stone. Been a pleasure to be with you today. we're helping you navigate your way through a confusing world. Check out more resources and information on our website, boundariestone.org, and I'll see you next time.